Adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It's the Mark Order Podcast coming at you. We've got Agent Joe in the house. Ryan's eating cornbread. Ironically, you eat bread on this podcast, but Matt forgets to eat bread on the Bread Club every week because he's a coward.
I live the gimmick.
You do, but you're not like a Kojima stan in the same way.
Yeah, but I live the fat guy gimmick. Totally different thing.
Well, what's up, fellas?
Not much. Did you know that Australia is whiter than the moon?
I did not know that. That's a
Physically
fun
whiter.
fact.
Yeah, fun fact of the day for you people. So,
Love that for us.
yeah.
How did
I
you
think-
find that out? Why do you know that?
You know, I really figured I'd really get into the whole, like, Tony Storm thing and, like, really stay up on my Australia.
I was gonna say it's kind of got like a little of an Aussie Open feel going on. Nope, Ryan, so close. Just unlock those fingers, and you're right there.
Keep eating more bread. Maybe more bread to trick.
Yeah, he just needs to carbo load so that he can get his hand gestures right. Joe, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. Not much. It's just, you know, day by day, living the dream.
That's it. That's it. We are without Ant tonight. He, you know, he was willing to have his chin up, but he was not willing to have his tits out. And we can't allow for something like that. I hope wherever he is right now, he can watch for the shoe. Our theme is still playing very low in the background.
Really still playing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That thing goes on forever. Oh, it just repeats.
Well, maybe if
Thought
you
you had
would
it cycle.
stop eating bread and act like a fucking professional.
No. See,
This
part
is
of the
an
bread thing.
extremely professional podcast.
No, the bread thing was since Ant wasn't here, I had to seem like a total slacker, and I thought no better way than to seem like a slacker than to be eating something. So that's why I'm on brand for that.
That's fair. That's fair. I appreciate it. How are you doing, Ryan?
Damn it! You waited till I took a bite.
Yes. No, perfect waitress timing of like the I'll ask if everything's okay when somebody puts food in their mouth.
I'm good. I'm very good. Hopefully, my internet lasts this entire show.
Hopefully it does, because that was not the case last time. But I'm excited to hang out with you fellas because next week I won't be here. Because next week I'll be at Grand Slam, which I'm medium excited with some of the things that we got set up for tonight. So that'll be good. And we're going to talk about all that and more. Like I'm not like, oh, sick, Sammy and Jericho. Like that's not where I'm at. But there's some other really, really good stuff that I am excited about. And
There's
because
definitely one match you're very excited about.
there's a couple that I'm very excited about.
One in
I'm very
particular.
excited about Samoa Joe and MJF too. I'm most excited about Claudio and Eddie. I hope we don't have a 2-hour Rampage. It was fun the first time we did it. Even then, it was pushing it. Last year, I was like, I think they had Muda show up, right? That was the big thing. And then, like, not much else. They did Starks and Hobbs too in front of nobody. That was like such a bummer. So hopefully they just go back to 1 hour.
Still
but-
any pop when you're doing a 2-hour Rampage. Like no one's excited.
Yeah, it's just like it's a weekday too. You know what I mean? It's just too damn long. So it becomes exhausting, but good stuff.
You know who won't have
That's
that problem, though? Ryan and I.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Joe, because I didn't want to bring it up, but I was so excited to welcome you onto the Mark Order podcast. I really was. I was like, finally, we have someone that might, I don't know, come out with us when Ryan is a curmudgeon and stays at home. Ignore the fact that he's been to more shows this year probably than Matt or Ant, but regardless. he doesn't like come out to play unless it's
Nor
in his
did I go on
backyard.
a cruise themed about wrestling.
Yeah, that's like the one time you get out of your comfort zone. And it took me 2 years of bribing you. Let's not forget, okay? Other than that, it's like, unless we're in my hometown of Philly, I don't really go anywhere. So I was like, well, this is great. Joe came out to Denver just to hang out. Surely he'll be going to various wrestling events to the stars, like a Grand Slam. And Joe, are you joining us?
You know, I was expecting some travel arrangements to be made, and they weren't. So I don't know who I need to talk to about this, but no.
The Mark Order travel agent is it's in our FAQ that we give to new members. So that's
You sure
on
Ant
you.
gave it to him though?
That I'm not sure about, but I do know, much like CM Punk, like there would be an Uber to pick you up. So you know what I mean? Like you could expense it back.
You know what I mean, Burn?
It's just, you know, I thought we were gonna have friends that did stuff, but I guess the more people we add to this, the less true that is.
Let's be perfectly clear. At no point in my life have I ever been the person to do stuff. And I've never indicated otherwise.
No, I think that's why I was like, oh, it's so sick that Joe's coming on board. And nope. He's just not going to spend like over $1,000 to come to a Wednesday night show.
I will make
Yeah,
my
this
New
isn't
Year's-
about me anymore. It's all about Joe. Let's
My
just
New
blame
Year's
Joe.
resolution next year will be to make more shows than Ryan.
That is a great resolution.
It's a low bar, but
It's
I didn't want to
actually not.
I didn't want to have to do this, but I did talk to the disciplinary committee, and we are suspending Samoa Joe chants in your name until further notice. So
Also, Joe said going to more shows than me is a low bar. It's actually not.
it's a pretty low bar.
I'm in double digits, I think, for this year.
No, are you? Good for
Well,
you.
wait. So, how many? We've gone to Collision, at least a Dynamite. I've gone to multiple things in Philly.
You went to 2 New Japan things, right?
Two things there. I think I'm close though. And then Jericho has to count for at least 2 shows.
Oh, that was this year, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'll give you that. All
so
right.
this is really it's all just a win-win for you, Kate. So if I beat Ryan, then I'm going to more shows with you guys. If I don't, that means Ryan getting out of the house more.
It's true.
So
It is
either
all
way.
upside for me.
You're missing the point. Then she has to hang out with me, and that's downside.
Does
So
she though?
measure your sides.
I just like having security around. So whichever
That's
one of
fair.
you
I
is
do
going to
make
be
good
there.
security. I'm a surly man. I make good security.
R&J security. We respect it.
Dang.
Well, because you guys are both losers who aren't going to Grand Slam, you will be holding down the fort while Matt and I are there. Ant is getting his ass kicked for real by work. So very much looking forward to that. And I haven't seen Matt since his barbecue, and even that was only for a couple hours. So looking forward to some in-person hangs and seeing some of, like, you know, my media connections, like Andrew Zarian, SP3, probably John Alba, and the extremely professional Cassidy Haynes, who saved our lives the first year we went with, buying us waters.
So Joe, you haven't gone to a show with Kate, but when you do, just realize at some point she's gonna say, "I'm going to the bathroom," and then she'll return about a half hour later. She's like, "Well, I met like 6 people."
I'm extremely popular. Okay.
Okay, hold on. What's that again? One more time. Number 1 step. Ryan.
Just know that step 3 is profit.
Yeah. So step 1, go bathroom. Step 2, step 3, profit.
That's it. Look, sometimes at the 2300 arena, step 2 is also like, I need to get some air because it's usually 900 fucking degrees in that venue. But it was not that bad last time, actually.
No, it wasn't.
I'll take it.
Hey, it's happened at every show.
I'm really popular, and honestly, in DC. Oh, that's right. You went to that other New Japan show. You went to Capital Collision in Philly. You're doing good. You're doing good, buddy. We're proud of you.
I told you, I've gone to shows.
You've gone to like 7.
I went vinyl shopping with Kate. Did that count?
That definitely counts because you put in time. You put in hours at the vinyl store, and you took me to Casa Bonita, which is really like the highlight of my life. So
Casa Bonita.
Casa Bonita. It is as pink and cheesy as you were hoping for. That's what she said.
But it was closed, wasn't it?
It was like open to limited groups. You had to like sign up way in advance and stuff, but we ended up just
sign
like,
up.
no, you had to like it. You had to sign up, and you don't really get to like secure a placement. Like I think you have to be local to the area to go, because it's just like, hey, this day you're called or whatever. It's not like I want to go on September 12th at 7 p.m. or whatever. Like
what you're saying is you have to find the people who are ahead of you, and you have to trick all of them into thinking that it's been the end of the world and that they have to hide.
Yep, 100%. Made many a joke like that when we went. Well, let's dive into it. There's not like a ton to talk about on Rampage, but I feel like there's a lot to talk about on Collision. So I want to spend more of our time there before we dive into Dynamite tonight. I feel like Collision was really strong, and then today felt very go homey. I don't know if anybody has like any overall thoughts on that, but like today there was, even as I was preparing my notes, I was like, there was a lot of talking on here. But I thought Collision was really strong. Any thoughts, Joe?
No, same thing. Just I think I liked Collision more than Dynamite tonight. Like you said, like Dynamite was a lot of talking tonight, so we'll discuss that later. But a lot of me kind of liking Collision a lot more than Dynamite. But we'll see how that goes going forward with more of the blending of the rosters.
Yes, I agree. Like it felt like a pro wrestling show, and I hope it kind of continues to feel that way instead of like Dynamite twice a week. Any thoughts, Ryan? I felt like Collision was like a nice reset button in a sense for where we're at.
Well, before we dive into Dynamite, we need to crash into Collision. So
we had to collide into Collision.
No, I didn't want to use the word twice. It was definitely the better of the two shows this week, without question. It was, but this was Dynamite tonight was 100% setting up for Grand Slam. Grand Slam is essentially a pay-per-view to like they know what they're doing there. So
this is like my only complaint is, and my only worry about them continuing to fill up the schedule is like, we just came out of 2 pay-per-views. This is essentially a pay-per-view, and then Wrestle Dreams in 2 weeks. So there's just like so much to build to an AEW world, and that's when the booking tends to get really, really thin, in my opinion. I'm excited about Grand Slam, but it does feel like we had biggest spectacle ever, All Out, which ended up being great, but pulled out of their ass. And then we have Grand Slam and then Wrestle Dream. I'm guessing that's going to be more of like a New Japan Fusion show again. Like, I'm sure more than Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr. are going to be like your crossover matches. I'm sure we're going to get like, maybe we get Sonata and MJF or whatever. We'll see. But I'm sure Swerve will be on there because it's his hometown, and Darby will be on there because it's his hometown.
Swerve is on there. We already know.
Oh, that's right. Well, we don't until we talk about Dynamite.
Ant's not here. I don't have to buy into that. We know.
This is why we only get pizza money and not pizza and wings money when he's gone. Okay.
I told you I stole the money from his wallet.
That's a fair point. Let's talk some Collision though. Super strong episode. I didn't get to watch it in real time, but going back and watching it, it was fantastic. We get Action Andretti and Jon Moxley kicking us off. I love that they are continuing to keep the international title as something that gets defended all the time, and oftentimes is starting off the show. We've seen that back to back, right? Like I think that's awesome. And that makes me really, really happy. But this was fun. Andretti is just kind of like kicking around. Like he came in so hot against Jericho. He's always had his like number, and then we haven't really done anything with that. So I would like for them to pay that off at some point. Other than that, he's just been like kicking around ROH. He took a great loss to ZSJ. But like not a lot of memorable TV matches outside of that. And I feel like he came in so strong that to see him kind of drop down is kind of a bummer. But him being in an international title match is cool. I just wish there was a reason other than like, hey, you're in this match. But I love the combination of Mox being so hard hitting and the athleticism of Andretti. Like, that's just a fun collision of styles. Andretti has a really nice like springboard splash kind of thing that he does that I really, really like. And Mox is just like a consummate seller. Any thoughts on our opener here, fellas?
When you going to? Me or Joe?
Oh, all right. I'll delineate if you want. We'll throw it to Ryan.
I just don't want to overtalk. I don't want to talk over Joe. I feel rude. This match was a lot of fun, like you said. It's holding up the tradition of the international title, which will lead me to an interesting thought of: do they do something where even Moxley starts to get worn down a bit, and he has to acknowledge, like, holy crap, Orange, how did you do this? Like, that would be an interesting story where, like, because I don't want him to go into the same exact story as Orange Cassidy. I'd rather one where he almost has to, like, go to him and say, like, I can't keep this schedule. How did you do this? Andretti, I'm seeing some comments in the chat of people being like, there's just too much AEW now. And I kind of agree. There's a lot now. So if it's not, it's hard to watch everything. Like, it's just so much. Andretti's,
Cowards.
but part of the, what'd you say?
Cowards. I watch everything and more. Get on board or get left behind.
But part of my point that would have been part of the issue they run into is that, yes, there's AEW and yes, there's ROH, but there still is no real true delineation. And that comes into play with someone like Action Andretti, because he should be ROH only, and where he would thrive just having great matches, he'd get a lot more chance to shine. But he doesn't, because if you go to ROH right now, you still have Claudio, you still have Joe, you still have, it's like, get those people out, let people like Action Andretti thrive in ROH, so that when they come to AEW, they have some momentum.
Sure, and he's also just been like in top flight kind of sometimes. You know what I mean? There's also the issue with ROH for me too is not only what you said, Ryan, but in addition, like, there's no delineation even in the division. Like, sometimes it's Willie Mack versus Vikingo, and then other times it's like he is a part of a trio and competing for the 6-man belt. So not only is there no delineation between Collision, particularly because they're on the same filming schedule, right, at ROH, but there's not even clarity within ROH itself. And Joe, that's like a continued pain point that I run into over and over again. I complain about it every week, but in a situation like this, kind of works because you have Andretti back there. It's a case to make him look good. Did you have any thoughts on our opener here?
Nothing other than really what you guys have touched on as far as, you obviously know there's no question the match, like when they have the book, and I appreciate the fact that Mox sells so well when the outcome is so predictable. But he still sells it like, maybe Andre can still catch, lightning in a bottle and pull off that random upset like he did with Jericho. But I do feel where he gets lost in the shuffle and he just kind of thrown into a 6-man tag or a trio with, whoever the high flyers are they want to put into a match. So, maybe they find his way, but he's also still pretty young. So, it's taken Sammy Guevara how long to finally get to a prominent level. So,
even that is arguable, I think, man. Even that is arguable. He's positioned well, but I don't know, man. Well, good stuff. We'll move along to a ladies' match. This is nice to see. We're seeing the women's matches earlier on the card, which is always good to see, especially when we've got Chris Statlander facing Robin Renegade here. Or was it? Yeah, Robin Renegade. It's never Charlotte, really.
I thought it was Charlotte. Was it Charlotte? You have the stuff pulled up, so whatever you're
No, yeah, it was Robin. Charlotte, I think, had an ROH appearance, which is good. My only thing with them is there's not a tag division, so I don't know what the plans are with them, but you kind of can't do like cool sister stuff if there's no tag division. Like, they're a tag team and they should be a tag team. They're serviceable as singles, but they're kind of packaged together. But this was perfectly fine. This was actually a strong match. Like, Chris is just great, and Robin bumped really well for her and made her look really strong. And the bigger story here is obviously Jade Cargill's return. So very, very cool to see. I'm assuming that Chris beats Jade and beats her like properly this time around, since Her first one was a cop-out. I think that makes some great fodder for promos. Jade can come back. I think she will probably run into issues of being face. I think people are genuinely just excited she's back, so we'll see what happens. But Jade can say, you beat me after Taya softened me up. Basically, prove it this time around, and I feel like they should give that to Chris. Joe, any thoughts on the match and Jade Cargill's return?
I missed a lot of the match because I was actually going to the bathroom at this time, for real.
Wow, did you get chicken tenders?
No, not in the bathroom, no.
Smart man.
But I did when I
Joe
did
hates women's
Jade.
wrestling.
Yeah.
It's the only logical conclusion.
I'm interested to see what they do with the Jade thing as far as making it like a week build for that match, like a 1 week build. So they're wrestling on Rampage Friday night, or whatever. So interesting to see how that turns out. But the match was, I guess, what it was based on what you said and what I can imagine it was.
Sure. Ryan, any thoughts here?
So, one, the women's tag team thing to me will always infuriate me. You have teams even within the company. Diamante and Mercedes Martinez are now a team, and it's like, what are you doing? I love that they're together, but why? What are you gonna do with them? You're doing nothing. Does it really hurt to have a women's tag belt? I mean, you have enough wrestlers that you don't use. You could at least just give them matches. I mean, if nothing else, it would give people time on TV. Well, I guess that would mean more than one women's match a night. Never mind.
That's
Cancel
the
that
issue.
idea.
Yep.
Because that's what I would do is bring the tag division, and that's your second match per night. Boom. Got more on TV. They have a chance to develop. It's wonderful because you have the Renegades, who they clearly like. They bring them in enough. You have within the company Diamante and Mercedes. You have Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. You have there's like they're all spread out, but they don't.
You had the OGs versus the Outcasts story, right?
And you can always make more. You had Willow and Sky Blue. Like you have these people who, while they're not in a, they're having the tag matches anyway. Just adding belts just gives stakes. It was the issue I have with the trios division.
Sure.
Prior to the belts, even though I don't think they've necessarily booked the trios division wonderfully, at least when a trios team starts to catch some fire, you can be like, well, there is a logical end for this. When there's no belt, there's no logical end.
Agreed. And I also feel like you could just have one set that floats between all the brands, right? Like one set that floats between ROH. Like I think if you anchored it in ROH, because there is a ton of room for women's wrestling in ROH, they do make it a priority there. Have it anchored there and then have it feel important when it's on Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, whatever. I think there could be some very productive work on that front. But any thought on Jade's return in general here?
Well, she clearly is going to have the issue of being face because there was welcome back chance, which is great. Like from one point, it's great. But if AEW is looking for her to be healed, that's a problem because it just isn't. Again, though, you don't necessarily need her to change much. I mean, MJF is face right now, and he's still kind of a dick. Like,
yeah, Adam Cole got huge reactions right on his entrance, and then people would play along when he was heel.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be like that.
Or you could just be a jerk face. I mean, there's been a lot of them in history, but a jerk face, we should say. But I'm not excited for the match in the sense of like, yep, your shirt is a.
I mean, who's a better jerk face than Eddie Kingston? Like he just wants to fight everybody all the time.
And he's a face. But on the flip side, like I said, the reason I'm not excited for this match isn't that I think it'll be bad or anything wrong with the performers. I think this is such a stopgap match, clearly, because they're not even really giving it build. So I'm kind of like, all right, if this isn't a story you're wanting to tell, just get past it and get me to the stories you want to tell.
That makes sense. And I think it's easier to snap something like this together when there's a past at least that they can capitalize on. But to your point, they did this with Ruby, where it was like there was a story there and they only gave it a 1 week build when they could have given it a lot longer. And Ruby and Chris benefit from having a little bit stronger of a work rate than Jade. She's just still so young at this. So we will see what's in store for that. But we got Bullet Club versus all the lucha in the whole wide world. Jay White couldn't be there for personal reasons. But we got a really, really, really fun match that comes here. I gotta be honest, like some of these Mega Lucha things are not for me, but this one was really, really fun. I feel like a lot of them are a little bit more in control of their style, then like sometimes I do, to be honest, like get a little fatigued on the, oh my God, Vikingo did a 450 onto the table on the outside stuff. Like it does start to feel like acrobatic for acrobatic's sake. I'm not a hater of it, but it's not my favorite thing. But this was really, really good. I feel like Metalik is probably one of the best that there is. I feel like he's kind of has that Rey Mysterio thing, not to compare everyone to Rey Mysterio, but he has that thing where he just makes it all feel extremely logical and proportionate to what his opponent is doing all the time. And I feel like that's really, really tricky with that style. But this was a whole mess of fun. Any thoughts on this, Ryan?
I'd say he's a grand of a Metal League, but I know, I had to. But I'm with you on the Mega Lucha stuff. Like, my issue tends to be that some of them aren't as good at timing their spots. So there's a lot of waiting. And that is, if you're going to hear me nitpick one thing, it's probably going to be when wrestlers are just waiting for one another, because there's ways to do it and make it seem logical. I always point out, I love when it's a tag match and one of the guys is holding the opponents in place.
FTR is like the best at it. They're unbelievable
like,
with that stuff back, especially.
Or some guys are just really good at faking like they don't see the guy climbing the ropes, and then suddenly looking up and being smart. Like, I love that, because even though if you really want to nitpick, like, he had to see it, it's okay. You've at least tried to logic why this guy was just standing there. Or when they fake like they're fighting and then suddenly someone jumps. Like, there's a whole bunch of things. These lucha matches don't do that a lot. Like, there's been a lot of them where it's, okay, I'm standing here, and for whatever reason, Vikingo's doing 30 jumps between the ropes, and it's a minute later before he jumps. You're like, okay.
Why would you not just walk away a la Samoa Joe?
Yeah.
That is the great question.
Or try to, like, it'd be cool if someone tried to reverse it and then Vikingo pulls off his awesome move. So you'd be like, oh, they tried, and he's still. But Metal League's very good at, like, Metal League's very good at the timing of it. Like, when he does a move, you don't necessarily see the weights. And I don't want to even say Vikingo's necessarily the worst at it. He's just the biggest name that I was thinking of in this match. That being said, the Bang Bang Gang was actually really good with these guys. I thought, it was a nice clash of styles, for lack of a better phrase, where the Bang Bang Gang isn't the high flyers and whatnot. So, like, they're all personality, and their personality match with these guys doing insane moves. And I really liked that. And even Kate has to acknowledge just how much improved the Ass Boys are.
They are better than they were. And I've actually been saying for a while, I feel like they're not for me, but like in a stable is a great way to raise these guys. Like, talent like this should be there at this level to eat pins, to get better, to be able to get under the learning tree of Jay White and Juice Robinson. Like, hell yeah. My bigger thing with them was, why were they champions, right? Like, I had an issue with them eating up that much time, while Jeff Jarrett was also eating up as much time as he was. But in this context, this is exactly where they
Jeff Jarrett.
This is exactly where they should be. And they are getting much better. I feel like Austin especially has, because he started earlier, been kind of ahead on just kind of the intangible parts, right? Of in-ring storytelling and facial expressions and things like that. Joe, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the Guns couldn't have asked for a better situation to fall into, as far as how to be used for their characters and for learning and to grow. And I guess the other thing is just, I was interested to see all the more lucha matches on Saturday night now, and if that's something going forward. And like you said, I don't know. I hope that we don't dilute the shows with a bunch of multiple lucha matches, because they're a little bit much, like we were talking about. One here and there is nice, but we can argue, well, we could scrap one and just add women's match, right? So
sure. Or like this had those guys, Ray Fenix, Action Andretti's not a luchador, but is a high flyer with a not comparable set, but similar enough one. And Helico probably falls into the same boat as Andrade, which we're going to talk about Phoenix and Angelico in a minute. But before we get to that, I'm ready to watch Eddie Kingston and Claudio beat the shit out of each other. And this sit-down interview was fantastic. Obviously, I'm an Eddie Kingston stan. If you didn't know that, you can look at my shirt. But one of the many things that I love about Eddie is it just doesn't matter what context he's giving a promo in. It's always great. It can be like an in-ring promo. It can be a pre-tape. It can be a sit-down interview. It can be a scrum after. Like, he just delivers in every single context. I say it with him all the time, too, of like, he's also really good about knowing when not to speak. Like, his most famous t-shirt is "Redeem These Nuts," right? That was one line after Miro delivered an awesome promo for a couple of minutes, and all he said was, "My man, redeem these nuts," threw the microphone and went into the ring, and they started fighting. These sit-downs are so special, and I think it's where Claudio is his absolute best, because he's just the type of heel that lends itself to this environment. I thought this was fantastic. You guys can call out whatever you want to, but like, this is something that is decades in the making. It's something I'm very excited about because of both of these guys in it. And this promo just made me all the more bought in. Joe, what did you think?
I'm with you on, like, because Eddie's such a great talker, saying less can be so much more and so much more impactful and intense, and kind of show how much hatred, and it's like you're so angry and so upset at someone that you don't want to waste words on someone. You just want to punch him in the face. And everything he does, I believe, whether it's in character, out of character, is like, I just believe that he's going to go in there and, he wants to kill Claudio.
He does. That's why you believe it, because it's true. Ryan, your thoughts on this?
So, all I can think about with this promo and the one tonight, their stare down tonight, is this is very much the case of like two sports stats. And Claudio is the sports stat who takes it way too seriously and is like, he works out with the kids and he's like getting it. And then you have the sports dad who for some reason gets drunk at all the games.
Randy
and
Marsh.
It's just, Randy
I
Marsh.
thought this
And
was
that's
America.
what this is. That's what this is. And it's just so funny to see the two of them. But I'm bought in. I mean, they've told the past without telling the past, which is really funny. Like, you could just believe that Eddie Kingston has hated this man for 20 years or whatever, like, it's just weird that somehow we believe that he truly hates this man.
He does, damn it. Because he does. I love that when Claudio got released, like, one of the first things, everybody was like, oh, he's got to go to AEW, right? And Eddie Kingston was just like, that guy doesn't belong at my company. Like, immediately jumped back into it. Makes me so happy. This is something that got built out on ROH a little bit. I think Eddie was probably going to go over last time at Death Before Dishonor, but he obviously had the G1, which is amazing for him. So here's hoping I get to cry crocodile tears at Grand Slam. I will be a very
crocodile
very
tears
happy.
fake tears?
Are they? I thought they were just big tears.
No, they're fake tears.
I'll be crying just like a blubbering idiot then. No metaphor needed. I'm just gonna be crying and happy. Eddie Kingston W. I also think it's cool that this is title for title, right? Like, it's conceivable that Claudio could win the New Japan Strong title. So that's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun, but also very fun seeing Angelico in the ring on AEW television, as is always seeing Ray Phoenix is just unbelievable. This was a lot of aerial spots in an episode, but the best ones in the world to do it. So not a ton of complaints from that point. The Spanish Announce Project, which is already weird because they're not the Spanish Announce team. It's very odd because they went from being Jobber City via Serpentico to just suddenly winning 3 matches on ROH with no character change. Like, there was no reason for them to suddenly be winning. My hope is that maybe Angelico is going to split off from them and go out on his own and be able to do more stuff like this, because it was great to see him. He was so smooth in this match. I absolutely loved it. Ray Phoenix is a human cheat code. Like, I don't even. It's ironic that him and Gravity are on the same show because they must have been nowhere near each other. This guy is so damn good. Phoenix getting the win here, but this was a blast. Ryan, what did you think? Was this like a little bit lucha heavy of an episode for you, or was there enough variety on here that you didn't really care? I know you're extremely picky and negative all the time, so.
I am. Well, right now I'm just singing Rob Thomas and the hell's the guitarist name? Smooth. When they did it, because he was so smooth. Santana. Sorry, I'm tonight.
Just like the ocean under the moon.
Put some respect
just like the ocean. But no, I mean, it was a bit heavy. I don't understand why you can't believe the Spanish Announce Project to start winning. They have Luther supporting them, and so instantly credibility. He's a great coach. Look what he's done for Serpentico.
Yeah, but he didn't even heave Serpentico into anybody.
That you saw. That's all in training.
Watch ROH.
No, that's in training now. They do it behind the scenes now.
Oh, okay. Well, their training came into play not at all on Ring of Honor.
No. But this is a good match, so it's hard for me to hate on it and be like too much lucha when you're giving me a good match. Angelico's style is so unique because he's not really a high fly. I mean, he can do the high flying stuff and he does, but he also is kind of a little Zack Sabre Jr. where he does like the weird submissions and he kind of like wraps you up. So like they really should make more use of him. If not on AEW, because he probably doesn't have a ton of space there right now, he'd be like a great pure guy.
He, I feel like, could be a great like hanging around the TNT title guy, but not a true contender. You know what I mean? Like you could just build the TNT title has just had no programs to it until this Christian stuff, and it's still hanging around Darby. So it would be nice just to see other people in the mix of it. I feel like Angelico is someone you could snap a program with and have some really, really great matches to get underway, but not ever feel like you have to do a ton building him to be a contender. Feel that way in ROH too. Like a TV title challenge run, I think could be really, really fun. But you're right. He has a really unique mix of aerial offense, a little bit of Tekker in there, but he's just so smooth. Like the
so smooth.
Oh God, I can't even use the word anymore because Ryan's just ruined it. I loved the whole springboard arm drag sequence we got with Ray Phoenix as well in this. This was really, really good. Joe, any thoughts here?
I think Angelico's style helped to balance out the match a little bit more, so it wasn't so high fly. Like, yeah, he would catch him, and then he was transition into an arm bar, and his transitions are so smooth with his mat wrestling. So I think that helped kind of break it up a little bit, so it wasn't such lucha heavy.
Agreed. Yeah, he was kind of the base in this, which is funny, right? Like, but with Ray Phoenix, the other guy is going to be the base in this, whoever it is. And
I wasn't sure if Angelico, like, I don't watch ROH weekly or very often, so like
neither do they. So don't worry about it.
If Angelico was on that very much or not, but like, I agree. Like, you gotta find a place for him because, like, him and guys like him and Kip Sabian, like, just they're really good, and just find a place to use them.
Agreed. Kip Sabian's one that feels very overdue at this point as well. And then we move along to our tournament matches, which were both fantastic. This was a really, really, really strong episode, especially at the end here. With all the lucha stuff, I thought maybe you'd want to break it up with these two matches. Like maybe you throw Darby and Roddy on a little bit earlier, but wanted to do it back to back for obvious reasons, I guess, here. But Roddy Strong advancing. I'll be honest. I went today to both Rite Aid and Walgreens. Neither of them had neck braces. Okay. One of them was out. There's none left. The other didn't even carry them. And I just want to know, to what extent, thank you for the visual aid, Ryan, to what extent will Adam Cole go to make sure that nobody's neck is protected? Because I am committed to bits. I was going to try and buy one. I went to Chipotle and got myself some dinner. I thought, great, there's 2 drugstores on the way home. Surely one of them will have a neck brace. One didn't even carry them. And the other See the little tag? It said cervical collar. Nothing there. So, Adam Cole, why are you sabotaging Roddy Strong's neck to the point where you will buy
If you had
out?
thought of this bit 2 days ago, you could have bought it on Amazon.
Yeah, I did, but here's the thing. I thought it would be readily available at one of my local drugstores, Ryan. I thought I wasn't going to have to do that. I ordered one on Amazon when they were out. It wasn't going to get here in 2 hours. Okay? Dickhead. This was a really good match, though. Darby and Roddy, I thought, had some really fun chemistry. I like Darby when he is in matches like this. This was good. I love Roddy. I'm glad he's kind of getting his flowers here. Obvious win, but a fun match. A little convoluted with everything, right? Like there's so much interference here and there's so much going on in this picture. But really good stuff. Roddy throwing Darby into the barricade was just like absolutely ridiculous. Luchasaurus throwing Darby Allin into the door was insane. Just bonkers, but really, really, really fun. This is classic Darby Allin. I don't know what to tell you, but Joe, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Darby plays the plucky underdog role pretty well for being like, I'm the small guy who will get his body hurled into random objects and keep standing and fighting. I thought that, to have the whole pre-match attack, sure, but at least it kind of helped protect the loss and also helped advance that story because you obviously knew that he wasn't going to win this match. So that helped it move along. And with the neck brace thing, I feel like AEW is missing the merch there. Like, you really could have a foam neck strong. No.
I have a theory on this, and I wonder if, like, medically you shouldn't. Like, I think there's, like, because my mom had to have one when she had, like, fell when I was younger. And she didn't get surgery. She just did PT and had to wear a neck brace, like, when she was in the car or whatever. And the doctor was like, don't just wear one, like, to be cute, basically. So I feel like they would do that because this has been going on for so long if, like, you could get away with it. But also neck braces might be, like, a hard thing to manufacture quickly. But you're right in that it feels like a missed opportunity.
You could easily, just use the foam they used, like, for foam fingers and everything else. I like back in the 90s where they had hacksaws 2x4.
Sure.
Have some Velcro, bend it around. Neck strong, right? Roger Strong. Moneymaker.
I just want Roddy Strong to know it wasn't a lack of trying. Okay, I stand in unison with Roddy Strong. I care about his neck. And Amazon cares enough to deliver one within 24 to 48 hours. But Ryan, your thoughts on Darby being in absolutely Darby's wheelhouse? This was a classic Darby Allin match, but I thought Roddy was a fun opponent for him.
You mean to tell me Darby Allin took a bunch of punishment and kept coming back? I am shocked.
I know.
Shocked, I tell you. I mean, that is right in his wheelhouse, and it allowed everyone to cheat, and everyone loves a good cheater. I'm going to be honest. I don't think a whole lot is wrong with Roddy's neck.
Well, I hope everyone's enjoying Ryan's last show.
He didn't wrestle with the brace, did he? Did he wrestle with the brace?
No, because he's a fucking hero, Ryan.
Because there's nothing wrong with it. He would have wrestled with it if there was.
Ryan, are you implying that Roderick Strong is wearing a neck brace? He has had to fly with it? He's been wearing it since
I'm
NXT.
implying he's faking it to make Adam Cole feel bad because he's crazy. I think he's psycho. I think there's something wrong with him.
Joe, you're going to replace Ryan. I can't work with conspiracy theorists like this.
In their interview tonight, Matt Taven was giving a rub.
Should we mute him? I feel like he's just
to the neck brace.
Out false information.
You can go ahead and mute him. I don't have the control, but
I'm pretty sure I have the most power in here right now.
The most.
Don't you sass me because I'm right.
There you go.
We get Penta versus Samoa Joe, and a really, really, really.
So as I was saying, tonight they were giving a shoulder rub to the brace.
I am the host, and I am the draw. Okay, we're moving this train along tonight.
To the brace. That doesn't help. So why would you do it? Because he's not
Penta
really
versus
hurt.
Samoa Joe in a really, really, really strong match. This was a whole bunch of freaking fun. I absolutely loved this. This was very hard hitting, as you would expect. Samoa Joe is just, I say it time over time, like maybe the greatest big man to do it. Like for what my tastes are, I just love how cool and collected he is at all times, but so menacing and hurting. Penta trying to use his taunts and Joe just headbutting him. Like, so good. Him being so focused on the fact that he's getting through Penta to get to MJF is something that I felt like very much came across in this whole angle. Joe and high flyers, man. I wouldn't even say Penta's like a high flyer per se, but he flies high enough that this is just the best shit ever. Very, very, very strong main events. And we're going to talk about like my favorite thing in the whole wide world that came after it. But before we do, Ryan, your thoughts?
Rubbing the neck brace. There was no.
Joe, what were your thoughts on Penta and Samoa Joe here? I'm sorry we can't do chances. They were indefinitely suspended.
I thought it was a great match. I love Penta's just so good. He's like to me, he's one of the most consistent people you have in the ring for like whenever you want a big match feel. Like you throw Penta against anyone, and I like their dueling, chops they had, and I feel like they both do really good with chopping. And yeah, I just no complaints from me all around. We'll see if Ryan has anything else besides talking about neck braces.
Tucker Ryan Carlson. Yeah, we'll go back to him in a second. But I do feel like you're right with Penta, because stylistically he's so good and because his whole presentation is so incredible. Like, it always feels like a big deal if you want it to. Like, between his gear and his look and the way that he can ratchet up matches to just be so impactful. Really, really, really fun stuff. Ryan, did you have anything you wanted to say that doesn't involve the word
mainstream wrestling media wants you to believe? Joe actually said a great point.
Hey, I work for one of those mainstream wrestling.
That's where I was going
outlets.
with it. I stopped. I was going to continue to go to.
Come on, man. Help me help you.
You call me Tucker Carlson. I'm going with
it. No, it's fair. It's fair.
But Joe pointed it out right. Penta is the guy to always step up when you need a big match feel. I mean, truthfully, he could have a singles run, and it would just be incredible. He's a main eventer if they want him to be. So this was fitting. And Samoa Joe is just, how you could have him and fire him twice, I don't know.
I don't either. Like, the work that he's doing, considering he's not in the prime of his career technically, is just bananas. Like, he's just, we'll talk about what he did tonight too, but like everything just feels so important and real and just really, really, really good stuff. But you want to talk about some great stuff? You want to talk about Octecker and how it's arriving very soon? Because Bryan Danielson came out and he got a promo and he said he's going to be retiring soon, but he also wanted to challenge somebody at Wrestle Dream. And the person that he challenged was Zack Sabre Jr. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy for a lot of reasons. Not only because we're going to get one of the best technical wrestling matches, if not the best technical wrestling match ever. And not only because I am very much on the New Japan train and the Zack Sabre Jr. title reign, but because this is the third time we've attempted to set up this match. And somebody put Bryan Danielson in bubble wrap for the time being until he gets to Wrestle Dream, because this has been a long time coming. Like, first it was the injury, and then it was the other injury, right? We were supposed to have Danielson, and we had the debut of Claudio, which was a really, really fun match at the first Forbidden Door. We had the injury the second time around with Danielson. So putting to good use those Blackpool Country Club promos that Zack Sabre Jr. cut in the past, so relevant as ever now. But I just really, really liked this. I like that Danielson is now at a point in his career where he's just like, I'm the best wrestler in the world. I'm going to fight Okada because he's the best wrestler in New Japan. And he was like, I happen to also maybe be the best technical wrestler in the world. I'm going to fight the other guy that's the best technical wrestler in the world. And he could just go around kind of having dream matches in this phase of his career. I'm really, really happy that this is going to happen. And I feel, as much as I like shill every week about this, because I am very excited, like where Zack Sabre Jr. is at in his career right now, what he's doing with TMDK, what he's doing with this hideous looking but very effective TV title, the stipulation that has had this time limit kind of works to advantages in matches like this, which probably won't be for the title and probably won't have a 15-minute time limit on it. So they can put something special together that isn't going to feel like anything else in his reign right now. So just really, really cool and special stuff. And I love that Danielson in this phase of his career just gets to have, like, okay, I'm just going to pick people that I want to have dream matches with, and we're going to just go do those. It's something that's really fucking cool and very much earned. Ryan, I know you hate most wrestling, but especially technical wrestling. Do you have any thoughts on this? And I'm sorry that it's not the lucha match of your dreams.
So first of all, Pedro in the chat is going to Seattle for the match, so be jealous. Second,
maybe I won't be jealous. Maybe I'll be there too. We'll see.
Yeah, you're cray, girl. You're cray. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is overrated, if you want my opinion. What does he do well?
No.
Like, let's be honest here.
Other than the everything?
He wrestles well. What do I care about that in pro wrestling?
Well, he also has great promos, like when he set up a title defense while Kojima was trying to go to the bathroom the other day.
So he can talk and he can wrestle well. Why do I care about this guy?
Yeah, because it's wrestling, dickhead.
No, I mean, this is gonna be incredible. I would be shocked if you see. I mean, you'll probably see Danielson wrestle, but probably in a very limited capacity until this match. Like, they are gonna be like, you do not take any risks. You do not go to the top rope. You do not do anything. You go in, you do a chop, and you walk the fuck out.
Well, we'll see, because we got Grand Slam though, and if he showed us anything in that strap match, it was that he doesn't really take things lightly, even when there's excuses to be able to do so. But Joe, your thoughts here?
My fear is that we're going to watch this match between Brian and VSJ, and we're going to want like at least 2 to 4 more matches between them. But at the same time, we have to like pace Brian so we get other matches we want from him. So I'll be interested to see if we get at least another 1 or 2 matches between them so they can have kind of that rubber match.
I'm intrigued to see what the booking is here, because you're right. I think they want to run back Okada and Danielson because it didn't happen. I think you could do that at Wrestle Kingdom probably. I think there's a lot of people that want to see Danielson and Ospreay, and that also does not make me mad at all. And there's ways to do that with Ospreay more than most, because he has a pretty open contract, it seems, and one that's expiring. So, and everybody's working together right now. New Japan, AEW, New Japan and Noah are working together, which is great. Impact and New Japan are working together. Like, they're kind of the belle of the ball, which is really nice to see, because they're trying to grow that American presence as well. I am intrigued. I don't think there's anything that Danielson truly gains, especially after pitting Okada clean, in going over Zack Sabre Jr. And I think there's a lot that Zack Sabre Jr. could gain. But at the same time, Bryan Danielson's maybe the best to ever do it. So I think it's going to be more one of those things where the fans win either way. But very cool that we are just getting to see dream matches. And selfishly, very cool that I get to see like Eddie and Claudio, and I get to see DSJ and Danielson, and I get to see DSJ and Ospreay, like all in a month's time. So very, 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 very excited. But
question about Wrestle Dream. Do you think it'll overshadow or be too similar to Forbidden Door? As far as the type of pay-per-view?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I don't know kind of what the plans are. It being an Inoki tribute show is interesting, because it's not like a collision of all-stars necessarily, but like we're getting Zack Sabre Jr. and Danielson, right? So it is kind of like, are they building to a similar feel? But I don't know if it's going to be necessarily like the same level of crossover. Like, I don't know if it'll be a 50-50 split. But any thoughts on that, Ryan? Because that's a good question.
I don't think you're going to get as many New Japan guys on the show. I think you're actually going to be a little more limited. So I think that's how they're going to keep it from being the feel. I think if this is, you're going to get a couple awesome things out of this, but I don't think every match is going to try to incorporate New Japan and AEW. I think this is going to be mostly AEW with a couple New Japan thrown in.
I would like Miro and Shingo and or Hobbs and Ishii. Please, 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 please. I'm also intrigued to see, like, you might also just get John Moxley doing an international title defense, right? Because that makes total sense. Or Eddie Kingston has the New Japan Strong title. Let's not forget New Japan Strong's based in LA, right? So you could use the Strong roster in Seattle. That's a very, very easy commute. Got a couple of minutes. I'm just going to run down the Rampage card, and you guys can let me know what you are looking forward to chiming in on, if anything. But we've got Penta winning our opener, as to be expected, against Jay Lethal. Who cares? Sheeta, Sky Blue, and Britt Baker versus Taya Valkyrie. The Bunny and Anna Jay. We get the faces going over here. We got the Young Bucks versus Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, and what makes your nipples hard match was the stipulation, I believe, with the Bucks going over. And you've got Samoa Joe beating Jeff Hardy as expected. I didn't get a chance to watch, but if there's anything you guys want to weigh in on, feel free to. That is always a good sign of a riveting episode of Rampage. But hey, you know what? You know what is riveting?
Riveters.
I mean, in a very technical sense, and you know I love technical things. Yes, but our t-shirt designs is what I was going to say, Ryan.
Really? You want to talk about our t-shirt designs? Why?
Why? Because we have the
already.
most handsome model in the world sporting his. He has the Chase edition, the gray Mark Order t-shirt as sported by Asian Joe right here. He looks like a Price is Right model. He looks amazing, but hey, you can go ahead and support us. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com, search for the Mark Order podcast store, and we have 4 beautiful designs. Every little bit helps. It helps us pay for production costs, like our upcoming StreamYard dues and things of that nature. So please feel free to go to Pro Wrestling Tees and pick one up. They're always running promotions, so keep an eye out for those. But I'm sure they've got like back to school and fall ones and whatever. But you can see our 4 gorgeous designs. We have a couple of front and back ones with your Mark Order podcast logos right there for you. Pick up all 4, or you hate us and you don't support our podcast and you don't support me. And that means you don't support women, because I am a woman. And the best thing that you can do to women is give them money so that we can ensure our right to abortion access and voting. So basically, if you don't buy a t-shirt, you don't support women. And if you can't buy a t-shirt, you can always just Venmo me specifically. Works just as well. You can send me to Seattle. Great. So
Kate,
anyway, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We are trying to get those numbers up. If you could leave a thumbs up on this video, that is always helpful for helping people find us in the algorithms. But we really, really appreciate the subscriptions, because it helps us get to the point of monetization when we accumulate those subscribers and those watch hours. We are a little independent podcast, and every little bit helps. For just 70 cents a day, you can buy a t-shirt, and for just 1 subscription.
Of an angel.
That's the dogs.
Do you remember the Sally Struthers one? Because I don't.
I don't know what the music was behind it, but we do appreciate any subscriptions that you can throw our way. Subscribe from, you probably have like 6 email accounts, okay? I see you on YouTube leaving nasty comments with all your burners, okay? Go ahead and subscribe from all of them, but don't leave mean comments. That's all.
Wait,
or leave mean comments.
My burners?
Yeah, I do, Ryan. Feels like Home 47 was like a pretty obvious one.
Yeah, I guess Ryan's burner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were not clever names.
Yeah, and especially Ryan Sullivan of the Mark Order podcast's burner was like a really, really, really obvious one, but as was Rate Not Kate 49, as was My Captain 69.
I don't know what you're talking about with those. Those are individuals who exist in their own Their own lives. I am not them. They are not me.
Concerned citizen 4742.
He's been around. Got my restraining orders up.
Yeah. You're gonna want to go ahead and renew it, but why renew your restraining order against the concerned citizen when you can subscribe to the Mark Order podcast? We appreciate all of the support that you can give us. But yes, Ryan.
I just want to point out the captain may or may not have found his pipe.
I am excited and alarmed. But in addition to supporting the Mark Order podcast, you can support the Shining Wizards Network, who carries this show proudly because we are the best show on it. You can check out a lot of other wonderful shows that Ryan is going to play the commercial block of in a second. There are some that are missing from this block, I think, including the syndication of the Bread Club, which I mentioned earlier with Matt and Kieran, who are on Fightful Overbooked. But there's a lot of great shows on the Shining Wizards Network. 90% of this commercial block features Kevin Rogue. So you can listen to him talk about his shows real quick.
We will be right back as soon as I nail this. Waiting.
Every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to the Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is the Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
If you like your music heavy, then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway!
up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
or playing in punk bands,
or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
Because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. That I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast from two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Oklahoma?
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Your Duke and Rope podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
How is everyone's commercial?
I pulled it off.
You did it! Hooray! You did it. While we were on
worried that
commercial
it
break,
would play in a loop, so I had to make sure.
while we were on commercial break, I went on the Twitter, and there was a tweet from Will Ospreay where he was like, "Just got back to Japan after a really long travel day." And they announced like the paid attendance versus the live attendance between Wembley was like 81,000 and 72,000 or something, and he got his first ever tattoo that was the announced attendance of 81,305 people. And he was like, bruv. He was like, it was the worst pain ever. Like, he was in so much pain. So he was like, I performed in front of like 9,000 less people, but that popped me.
Well, wait, what's it? So only 70 something paid?
Turnstile.
Turnstile.
But then why did Tony Khan say 81?
That was the paid, I think.
Yeah, they sold tickets for that many.
Oh, well, who cares? But there was definitely more people than that there anyway, because there's a lot of people that didn't pay to be there. So he still probably performed in front of 81,000.
Yeah, but turnstile is how many people entered the arena, right?
I'm sticking with it. Stick with the 81.
Well, he's got it tattooed on him now, so it was very, very funny little video. But let's swing into some AEW Dynamite. Thanks for sticking with us through the commercial break. Got a lot to get into. Very, very talky episode off the bat, but we do start with Big Bill versus Jon Moxley. I said it earlier, but bears repeating tonight because it's the same as Saturday. Love that this title is staying in the opener slot, and I love that it's getting defended with great regularity. That just makes me very happy. So, this is going to shock you guys, but this was a hard-hitting match where Jon Moxley bled. But good to see Big Bill get a rep in here. I thought he looked pretty good in this. Bill flattening Jon Moxley with a major choke slam and goes for another, but Jon Moxley gets in that triangle choke. And Ricky tries to interfere, but Danielson comes in to even out the odds. We are moving the story along. I like that they didn't just drop Danielson and Ricky, because they could have. Like, they could have just had that be a really special one-off and have it had its place. But I like that we're setting up like a tag picture here. I think this is good. And I thought the match was good. Nice to see Big Bill coming alive. They got to figure out what he's doing, because he was with Lee Moriarty and he was with Brian Cage and he was with Starks now. So I hope that this is the recipe that they've been looking for with him. He was with the Firm. I don't know where the hell any of those guys are. It bums me out. I think Ethan Page is phenomenal. Looks like he's getting repackaged based on some of his social media. Stokely's on ROH. Lee seems to be working mostly in ROH as well. But a fun opener here. I just hope that this is what they are planning to do with Big Bill from here on out. I like the idea of this version of heel Ricky having a heavy, because he's kind of full of shit. Like, he thinks he's hot shit, but he's not the biggest dude in the world. So him having a very big best friend makes a lot of sense. Ryan, what were your thoughts on this opener, and how do you feel about the Ricky Starks and Big Bill pairing?
First of all, Big Bill's name should be Big Willie Style. That's just me.
Just be William Morris. It's perfectly fine as William Morris.
Big Willie Style. Nah. This was a great match. Listen, Big Bill's been awesome. He really was someone who left WWE and worked hard and got himself to be like a really fun pro wrestler. And Jon Moxley is amazing. I was shocked he bled. I mean, that's just, that never happens. I mean, I haven't seen that.
I will say, in the 8 o'clock hour, that's different though. Like,
that's true, but
usually they do backload that onto the end of the show for ratings reasons, I think. But he did bust open here. But good stuff. How are you feeling about Ricky and Big Bill as a duo?
I love it. It kind of reminds me of going old school, like Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
That's a very, very fair comparison.
You're smaller, charismatic, awesome wrestler, and you're just big, heavy, who kicks everyone's ass.
Well, a rare moment where Ryan likes something in wrestling. Joe, what are your thoughts on our opener here, and how do you feel about this duo of Ricky and Big Bill?
Ryan stole my comparison of Shawn and Diesel.
Typical Ryan.
You could maybe also make a comparison to a lesser degree of a certain End Zone cast.
Sure, that's fair.
But
you stole his thing of not going anywhere,
right?
And so then he stole your.
We're talking about stealing gimmicks here. You did it, not me.
I like the fact that Mox has that submission background to help, so he can beat a guy the size of Big Bill with a submission, which is kind of like the great equalizer for an undersized opponent. So I enjoyed that. The other takeaways I had were really, one, questioning how many aprons they have on hand to swap out. Because, like, Mox is on the card, so you have to have one at least. So, like,
MJF's on the card but didn't wrestle, but you just never know with his Tanner. You should have another one around. Yeah.
And
what a shot.
And then
his Tanner's not good. Okay.
No pro wrestler's Tanner. I've yet to see a pro wrestler who knows how to tan.
Yeah, but his is like, I think his is intentional when it's streaky at this point. But go on, Joe.
And my only thing was, I felt bad. It sounds like Ricky Starks needs a pearl necklace.
His pearl necklace is broken, and I mean that in strictly a jewelry sense, I think. I can't say for sure, but seems to be the case. But good opener nonetheless. There's a lot of talking on the show, and a lot of it came in this next kind of smooshed together segment. I'm going to try and keep everybody's talking segments relatives to their matches on the show. So if we seem a little out of order tonight, that's part of why the Mark order is out of order, because I'm trying to keep storylines together, because this was
He's trying to keep order for the Mark order.
Mark order.
When we go out of order.
We go out of order to have some order to the stories here. So we're going to move along to Don Callis revealing his next masterpiece. And it should just be the person of Mel Coleman at this point for all of the awesome artwork that she's doing. But we got a great promo here, in my opinion, where he says that if you beat Omega once, you're the ace. But if you beat him twice in 7 days, you're the alpha, which I like, the little alpha and the Omega. He says they broke Kenny's body, and now they've broken his heart. And they reveal this painting to be his next victim of Ibushi, which I thought was interesting, because we at last week didn't know if it was going to be someone he's trying to recruit or if it was going to be another victim. He also says that Omega is at home and a pathetic cuck. We get Callis driving a screwdriver into the painting.
That's rude.
I know. Look, if it's consensual, let people do what they want. But Callis with the screwdriver into the painting, which is just mean to do to Mel Coleman's work, honestly. But presenting Takeshita with flowers and then throwing it in the face of Tony Schiavone. I really love the way that they're using the artwork to tell a story. There's going to be a Don Callis artwork Hall of Fame wing somewhere. I'm very, very excited to see this. And I also think it's a really fun way to move things along. And I just really like, there's a language barrier with Takeshita. I'm not someone that thinks that matters very much. I think TV executives feel differently than I do. If you can speak a different language but convey the message, I think those are some of the most riveting promos you can have. But Don Callis, I feel like, is the perfect alignment for this version of Takeshita. And Ryan, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about Ibushi being the next target here? I think Ibushi and Takeshita is a pretty satisfying follow-up to this. And what do you think of the segment in general?
So it is and it isn't. I'm a little worried. I don't think Ibushi's been on his best lately. So there's a little concern there. But if he's the Ibushi that I've seen wrestle before, then yeah, this is going to be awesome. The painting thing is great. I don't think I've ever seen this in pro wrestling where they've used a series of paintings like this to tell a story.
Well, they were trying to do something similar with the tarot cards of Karrion Kross on SmackDown, but it never really took off. But it was a similar idea where Karrion Kross was revealing tarot cards to have the next opponent or whoever he was in a feud with. And it's a cool idea. It's just the execution is a little all over the place with Karrion Kross on SmackDown, unfortunately. But I like that idea of a consistent visual device that reveals it is pretty cool. I will say those tarot cards, they ain't Mel Coleman's tarot cards.
No, they aren't. They aren't Ibushi staring up at a sword. It's amazing. I'm all for this. And yeah, if Takeshita can't speak English wonderfully, that's okay, because he's got a guy who can speak, and he is an amazing wrestler, and you still know how he feels by his facial reactions and his mannerisms. So he doesn't struggle to tell you that he is a dickhead.
It's true. Dickheads are universal, and I love that for it. I agree with you. I have some concerns with Ibushi, but I don't know if Ibushi needs to be his best with Takeshita. Takeshita is such a great dance partner. And there is, the chat is alluding to it, a little bit of history between the Golden Lovers and Takeshita in his DDT days, which I'm sure they'll develop as the story goes on a little bit. But I feel like Takeshita is in a place where he can make you look good and make himself look good in the process. What were your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I think he's going to probably kill Ibushi.
You think he's going to murder him?
Yeah, I think it makes sense that, Ibushi doesn't have to be 100% or even close to what he was if Takeshita is going to, beat him clean and keep tearing at Kenny's heart. And I like the fact that they don't have Takeshita speak too much. I mean, he's very, very much the silent but deadly force, right? So.
Yeah, he does have this assassin air about him. I still find myself wanting to cheer for him all the time, so I don't know how. But it's not that I'm not in on heel Takeshita. I just love the dude, so that is perfectly fine for me. But I did also just want to say, everybody stop. Jesse Ozog's in the chat.
I don't do that gimmick.
You do tonight. We're a short one.
No. He
show some respect to Jesse Ozog.
No, Jesse started a war with me. I'm just retaliating.
Ryan, there was a situation with some stickers that didn't look great on
my
us.
fault. I didn't do it.
Whose logo is it, Ryan? And are there shirts available with that logo at ProWrestlingTees.com?
I don't know. Are they?
Hope everybody's enjoying Ryan's last show. We move on to Alex Marvez backstage with Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Bryan Danielson, who says he loves it when things escalate for the Blackpool Combat Club. Danielson issuing a challenge for Collision with Claudio against Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Moxley and Phoenix enter the picture here. Phoenix and Eddie Kingston Patna entered the picture here to go after Mox and Claudio. I just love Eddie and stuff like this. Like, he just feels like a bull waiting to be let out at the rodeo. Like, he's just always there to beat everybody's ass. Pretty straightforward little promo. But I think this is good. Yes, Jesse Ozog, I know you've been here for a while. That doesn't mean you should go unacknowledged, okay?
Oh, man, look at Jesse with an attitude. I'm just saying.
I don't think Jesse would have said that if you weren't being such an absolute dickhead over there, okay? But a good little segment right here for you. Because you didn't wave to Jesse. All I ask you to do is this. I feel like you're being very Matt Bowman tonight, and I don't need that in my life. And because of that, I'm gonna throw it to Joe first on this one.
That's a shot at Matt.
No,
Matt, I mean, come on. Is that not patented, Matt? Come on, you hand jobs.
Yeah.
Sleep jacker.
That's a deep cut. I want to live in a world where Eddie is ROH World Champion. That's all that's what I want for 2023.
Joe, I have a dream. Okay.
Tell me.
That Eddie Kingston beats Claudio in front of my eyes at Grand Slam. And then merely a week and a half later, we get Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. And then 2 weeks after that, we get Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. And before any of that, we get Marufuji versus Will Ospreay. That's my dream. And I can't think of a single other person that has, in a meaningful way, that they have a dream that could be possibly more important than what I just said. Nothing really springs to mind. But Ryan, what do you think of this? Are you excited for this little tag-a-doodle that we're getting set up for Collision?
I'm stuck on your dream.
Hi, Ryan. Ryan, you want to join the podcast?
I was doing a bit and you interrupted it. Screw you. I was doing a very emotional bit about your dream. You know what? Screw you.
All right, we move along to Renee Paquette, who's backstage with Hook, your FTW champion. And they're talking a little bit about Orange Cassidy, who just happens to be walking by, and he sees Hook, and he's all upset because Hook has a title, and Orange Cassidy used to have a title. And I like this because Hook says, you know what, Orange Cassidy? You were a great champion. And Orange Cassidy returns the compliment, and Hook walks off. And then Renee asks Orange Cassidy how he's doing, and he said that he's still just so tired. And I get it, because relatable. Philadelphia over there, what are your thoughts on this segment? I know you hate Orange Cassidy, but do your best.
So mean to me, and all all I do is give and give and give so much of
Jesse
myself.
Ozog the middle finger.
Yeah, I gave. See, I didn't lie. This was adorable. What culture are you from? I see Shakespeare. I'm pretty sure the British think middle
Are you
finger
from
is
upstate New
rude.
York? Because that's not true then.
Yeah. Oh, I turned on Jesse Ozog's teacher instincts.
What did you think of this?
This was adorable. Orange Cassidy just walking up and being so polite. I thought they were going to do a match, and I wasn't excited for it. And then just how polite he was. You're like, you were a good champion. You know what? You are too. It was just like touched my soul, and then I'm just so tired.
Precious.
Like this
So
was
tired,
everything I
Renee.
love about Orange Cassidy. And I know you spent much of this week fighting with people who take Orange Cassidy way
Why do
too
I do this?
seriously. And
Why did I do this to myself? Like,
Yeah, why?
why do I talk to anybody on the internet, much less engage with absolute fucking dorks who somebody was comparing him to the Ultimate Warrior at some point. I don't know how we got that far off the fucking rails. And then other people were like,
Meanwhile,
45 million views on YouTube actually isn't impressive because of the algorithm. Fuck off.
meanwhile, didn't Blackwood say like, "Hey, my uncle loves him" or something? Like that's who my uncle.
First of all,
Like,
yes. We
a great
stand
wrestler.
Kevin Blackwood.
That was a
Also,
great wrestler.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But like my point in that thread was the amount of people that are like, oh, this person who wasn't very interested in wrestling loves this guy. I got so many replies like that. And that's what my original point was, that my sister who doesn't care about wrestling loves Orange Cassidy. But I know Ryan hates him, so.
Yeah, clearly, because that's why I have consistently hated him on the show.
Yes, exactly. But you liked this backstage segment. You like what we got here.
Just adorable. There's no other word to say it, but adorable.
Do you have any interest in a brief tag run of a Hook Cassidy situation?
Orange Hook. I mean, kind of. If it gives like Orange, kind of needs a little bit of a whatever for a second. So if it kind of gives him a break from being like a main feature for a second, yeah, no, I could dig it. I just don't want it to bleed to like kind of like a Hookhausen thing, where like they didn't break up really, they didn't fight afterwards. It just ended, and I'm okay with that. Then.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I'm like, I would like to see him with the best friends. Like
That's where I really
in a
the trios
trio?
of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Truthfully,
think
that's where he belongs right now.
if you're tired, who better to pick you up than your best friends and to do 2/3 of the work? That's what I think.
I own.
Joe, what do you think of our little Hook and Orange Cassidy interaction backstage here?
It's been interesting watching his backstage segments with he's kind of wandering, kind of searching more for what's next. And I feel like it's kind of like the Goldilocks thing of like trying, you know, the porridge is too hot, one's too cold. You know, he's trying to find the maybe a championship that fits him. So maybe the trios belt is what will ultimately be the destination for him. But yeah, I don't need to see a tag team with him and Hook, because unless it's a one-off.
Joe, are you also so tired?
About 70% of the time, all the time.
You're the Sex Panther of exhaustion. I'll take it.
We'll get into math later on in the show, I'm sure.
We will be getting into that later on in the show. But for right now, we're going to get into our women's match, who I got to tell you, very nice to see this in the first hour. Probably could have been a little longer when this entire thing was so talk heavy. But everybody on screen, everybody in the chat, everybody in the world, get your chin up, get your tits out, and watch for the shoe. Because we've got Toni Storm winning over Nyla Rose, who has Marina Shafir in tow, Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida, who we have a little bit of tension between, for a title shot at Grand Slam. What? Watch for the light that goes out, as well as the shoe. This match was about 6 minutes long, but they got a lot done in that 6 minutes, I gotta say. Like, it's not my favorite to see these super short women's matches, but I'd rather 6 minutes at 8:30 than 9 minutes at 9:30, so I'll take it. But ultimately, we have Toni Storm kind of seeing an opening in this and sneaking a schoolgirl on Britt Baker. Post-match, we get Shida, who is pissed at Britt Baker for kicking her, and Toni Storm on stage posing as her little starlet self and celebrating. Yeah, we'll do the backstage right now, and I'll get your thoughts on all of it. But the beautiful, incredible, amazing, wonderful Renee Paquette is backstage, of course.
Oh.
And I really liked what we've seen Saraya doing. I did not like initially putting the title on her because I feel like her promos hadn't been great, and her in-ring, I don't think even by any fault of her own, she's just, as Matt would say, her neck is made out of graham crackers at this point, right? And she has endometriosis and a lot of other health challenges, but her value at ringside has been very evident, and I've liked her promos over the past couple of weeks. We have Renee backstage with her and Ruby Soho, who kind of congratulates Toni Storm on winning the match. Saraya says that Storm lost her women's titles and she's lost her mind, and she's going to lose at Grand Slam as well, leaving with nothing. And this whole promo makes Toni Storm walking out to the Outcast theme a little bit confusing. I think maybe this will be it. I think this might have been the full unraveling, but I did notice that when she came out, and I think a lot of people were like, why is she coming out to the Outcast theme? I'm hoping this means we have some ridiculous starlet theme in store for this like next wave that she's on. But Ryan, what were your thoughts here?
See, it confuses you, but it didn't confuse me because I think Toni Storm's so crazy at this point, she doesn't even realize that that wasn't her theme. That's the theme of the group that she screwed over. I think that's just where her brain is now. She's just throwing shoes.
I mean, she did say she's had a lot of performances, so she probably doesn't remember what themes those are under.
I also want to say, because I unfortunately my internet died before we got to this segment last week, in that statement of chin up, tits out, watch for the shoe is really underrated for how well that's delivered.
Watch for the shoe. It's incredible.
Gets me every time. This was the outcome that was needed. And you're right. Saraya's been really good with her chant promos. She kind of plays the arrogant heel really well in this case. I think it's better than the, oh, you're a loser. It's more like, I'm just better. I think she's just better at that persona of heel. But Toni Storm, holy good God. I mean, Athena is probably still my favorite woman right now because I just love what she's doing. But Toni Storm's really pulling up close to like taking her spot. This has just been amazing.
Agreed. Joe, your thoughts on our quick match and the promo after?
Yeah, they did what they could with the time they had, getting 4 former champions in here. And they advanced 2 storylines, right? So you got the Toni Storm going to Saraya match. You still have the Shida and Britt Baker build to eventually they'll fight, right? One of these times. Hopefully, maybe they'll have 2 women's matches on pay-per-view coming up. But yeah, I think, and then Nyla Nyla's there, always a solid hand. I think we're all kind of waiting for her to be repackaged sometime, right? Like
she's just so fucking funny. I want her to be a face so bad. Like
she
so
has done everything she needs to do to be a face, and they just won't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think part of it is probably this duo with Marina. Like, I think maybe Marina's not ready to fly yet, and they are giving her some reps in ROH, and Marina has looked like she's improved pretty markedly. And I think when she gets great because of her style, she's going to be a force. And I'm excited for that. But I'll tell you,
Marina, go real quick. I just want to, because I do have a point on this. You could have Marina be face with Nyla for a bit, and then the way you get Marina to be like heel when she's really ready to go on her own, is you have her turn on Nyla. Like, you have a story there.
Sure. I think there might be more value in Nyla turning face almost on Marina, but I get what you're saying. You better get it, 'cause I said it. I just don't fucking care about Les Sex Gods. I just don't. But we get Jericho and Sammy in this angle that feels more convoluted by the day, to be honest. Jericho saying that there is no AEW without him, but Guevara didn't come to AEW to be a side, or I'm sorry, Sammy said that without Jericho, there's no AEW, but that Sammy didn't come to AEW just to be a sidekick. He came here for the fans to view him like a Moxley or a Danielson or a Jericho himself. That'll never happen as long as he's a sidekick. So he needs to beat Jericho next week. And I'm so sick of this frenemy bullshit. Jericho responds by saying that this is why he told Guevara and Daniel Garcia that they need to break off essentially and go out on their own and accomplish what they're capable of. This has been an angle dating back to Forbidden Door, and they're kind of just getting around to it. I don't care about seeing them face each other. I hope that the match is better than what my expectations are. Ospreay and Jericho was certainly better than I expected it to be, but I feel like Ospreay right now is just a human cheat code, and I don't know if Sammy has that in him. I just don't care. I'm so uninvested in this. And I'm just kind of bored. This will be where I go get whatever my vegan diet equivalent of chicken tenders is, because I just don't give a shit. But Ryan, we'll start with you here. Your thoughts on this piece of it, and then I'll flip to the Daniel Garcia part, which was, of course, great.
I am a fan, and I know that shocks you, that I would be... I just almost broke something on my computer, that I would be a fan of this, but I am. I have been bought... I know that the Sammy story has been rough because they didn't know what to do with him, but he has always been a part of the Jericho sphere, so I kind of like this being the ending of like a 4-year-long story. I think Sammy has potential if they could ever just figure out how to fucking book him properly. And so I'm in on this. I know. Shocked. This was made for me to hate because I hate everything, but I like it.
A rare W in Ryan World. He actually likes something. It's just been going on so long, and
Okay, they need to finish the story, okay?
Well, they'll finish it before Cody does, but this also doesn't feel like it needs to be on Grand Slam. Like, this could just be on Collision, and I'd be fine with that.
Grand Slam is still just a Dynamite. Like, it's not like Grand Slam's a...
Dynamite is where Sting showed up, okay? If there's a 2-hour Rampage and this is on the back half of it, I'll leave it early. I don't care who I drove into the city with. I don't give a shit. But, Joe, what do you think of this angle, and do you have any investment in the match at all?
I have investment from the fact that it'll be over and we can move on, hopefully.
Well
after
said.
all the start-stopping that we've done.
11 out of 10. No notes on that take. That's perfect.
Watching this segment, it just felt like it felt way longer than it probably was. Just watching the package, then listening to them have their back and forth chit chat. I don't, and I know Ryan's in on Sammy, but like I don't know if he has it yet to be a breakout face from a character standpoint, because his face persona is pretty cheesy. Like, gee golly, believe in your dreams. I'm going to
my hot wife. Blah blah blah.
Reach for the stars, and here's my wife. And hey, we're expecting a child. Did you know we have a child coming?
It's like,
you guys hate kids. That's weird.
I mean, kind of, yeah. But someone tweeted that this segment could have been an email, and that's actually as perfect of a way as I felt about it. Give the women more time. This was a waste of mine, but we do get Daniel Garcia mercifully on the other end of this with the beautiful, wonderful, remarkable Renee Paquette, who Daniel Garcia just doesn't really care to be asked about Jericho and Sammy Guevara. He wants to talk about going viral 4 times with his fun little dance. And Don Callis interrupts. He's trying to recruit Daniel Garcia, which Daniel Garcia and Takeshita on the same side of things. I love that idea. But Garcia shushed him and did his little dance and walked away. I love the idea of Danny Garcia being on the same side as Takeshita. I don't know if this goes anywhere, but like Daniel Garcia is a part of the Callis family, going from sports entertainer to this. I don't hate it. Whoops. We need more people in this family. Families can just be a dad and their son, I guess.
My fancy booking would be that Don Callis has so much hatred for Jericho that he wants to take the JAS into his own family.
Ooh.
With Garcia, and then all the other JAS members are still hanging together, as we see later on. So it's
that's a good point.
Easily just bring them into the fold.
I like that idea, Joe. Brian Tholomew?
So Joe liking things is okay, but when I like things, there's a problem.
Well, yes, because Joe likes better things than you do.
Yeah, so wrong. It hurts.
I don't
Daniel
care.
Garcia is a gift, and we need to appreciate him.
It's
That's what I
true.
have to say.
And while I like him being on the same side as Don Callis and Takeshita, I also feel like he could be a breakout star if you let him be on his own. So this might have been just a fun piece for the segment, but we will see. We move along to Hangman Adam Page, Brian Cage 3. Speaking of dancers, is there anything you guys want to share with the class? For those of you listening in podcast form, we're doing the dance. We're doing the Prince
Not the
Nana
Garcia
dance. Everybody is doing the Prince Nana dance because how couldn't you? This guy is like quietly taking the world by storm. We're going to talk about it in news and notes later, but he did get a contract extension, which makes me very happy for a lot of reasons, actually. Very happy to see Prince Nana being probably the most effective manager on wrestling television. Warms my heart, but a fun third bout here as we get Adam Page sweeping Cage's legs out, going for the buckshot, but Cage countering into an F5 attempt, which Page then counters into a small package. Page was up first and dropped Cage with the dead eye and got the victory. I consider it a victory getting through all of the keeping the Page and Cage rights for the ending sequence that we got in this match. But this was a fun one. I felt like before this reinvigorated Brian Cage stuff, the matches with Hangman were his best matches to date, even when he was in that face angle that didn't really work. Very nice to see them run this back. There's a lot that happens post-match, so I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on just the match piece of it, and then we'll go through some of the post-match. But, Joe, what did you think of just the match aspect of this?
I liked it. I think you're right. They are good dance partners together. And the fact that they kind of built it up as being a trilogy of being their third match made it feel a little bit bigger than just a regular match. So I appreciate the fact that they called back on that. And yeah, I'm glad we got the Prince Nana dance. I was really worried for a while we weren't going to get it. And also, why don't we have a dance? Everyone else had a dance. Garcia had a dance. Nana had a dance. Like, why doesn't the Mark Order have a dance?
Well, you just entered the fold, Joe. Maybe that's something that we can work on, and maybe that should be Patreon content. But based on what Ryan's doing right now and the fact that he can't even get like very basic hand motions down in a non-dance form, it's kind of concerning. But we'll see what we can do. The Napoleon Dynamite butterfly away thing seems to be one of the things that he can nail down. But let's see if we can nail down some of his takes on this match. What did you think of the in-ring that we got here before we swing into the post-match?
Literally started dancing, almost forgot what match you're talking about. This was a lot of fun. I mean, Cage has definitely improved. Something changed when ROH came and he got the 6-man. He became a lot more fun to watch. Maybe it's just that they gave him Nana and like kind of like a course, somewhere to go. Page is always a lot of fun. So Page versus Cage. You don't have to be a sage to understand how this match went down. So it was a lot of fun. And then Nana at the end, it was just everything you could possibly want.
Ryan, know what I like about Collision?
What's that?
The stage. Could you imagine Page and Cage on the Collision stage? It might send some people into a rage, but not me. See, I got one foot in your world and one foot in Ant's because I'm trying to keep the show on the tracks. But post-match, we get Page saying that he thought Strickland had the balls. I would love that word retired from promos, except for when Samoa Joe is making jokes about MJF and circumcision because that was art. But he says clearly he's keeping them in Prince Nana's Burger King crown, which popped me tremendously. Strickland also saying here that those sound like fighting words, but he's dumber than the Cincinnati education system if he thinks tonight is fight night. He also says that he said Wrestle Dream is in his own hometown and that he and the Mogul Embassy will tune him up before then as Cage attacks with Nana's dancing. And the Young Bucks appear behind Nana. mocking his dance, which I think might be a heel move at this point. Lay him out with a super kick, and they stand tall with Adam Page, who are staring down Strickland. So it looks like we might be getting some 6-man action at least here on the Wrestle Dream card, which is fun, but I feel like the numbers are lopsided because, oh no, maybe not. Yeah, because you have Swerve, Cage, and the rest of the Mogul Embassy. You have Toa Leona and Khan, but you only have the Bucks and Page here. So there should be a fourth, I guess, entering the picture. But what are your thoughts on the post-match that we got here and setting up this match at Wrestle Dream? Ryan.
Told you I love seeing the dance, and then you have them dancing behind them, and everybody was cheering, and it was great. That's gonna be such a fun match. So I'm glad Swerve is being elevated now. It's like that next tier. Like when you're doing a program with Hangman and with the Bucks, you're now in that next tier.
Yeah, they've kind of become in a way like Jericho is on the single side, where it's like, okay, this is we're not in a title picture, but top of the card, guys. Joe, what did you think of the post-match, and does this make you excited for anything to do with Wrestle Dream?
Yeah, I think the post-match was fun. It seems like the Bucks just kind of randomly show up now, like whether it's at Collision, at Dynamite, they kind of run through the crowd and come in and super kick someone. But yeah, I think I'm excited to watch Page and Swerve at Wrestle Dream. I think it'll knowing their styles, I think they'll complement each other.
I agree. This is followed by a quick video package with Chris Statlander and Jade Cargill. This is essentially just a stepping stone to set up the title match that'll be happening on Rampage on Friday night. Any thoughts on these? I'll just leave it open to the floor if anybody wants to chime in.
No, I gave my opinion.
Well, okay. Then we will move along to Darby Allin and Nick Wayne defeating Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, who have Jake Hager and Anna Jay at ringside, as noted by you guys earlier. Allin winning with a coffin drop on Parker in stereo for the W here. And then post-match, this is another one that is getting a little broad for its britches, I feel like, but I have patience for it because Christian Cage is just the best. We get Cage and Luchasaurus taking the microphone. I hate the disruptive we're coming out to commentary spot. I don't know if it's designed to make me hate it, but it looks really dumb when everybody in the ring is distracted by it. Cage talking about scrolling through Nick Wayne's mom's Instagram account, and he's got a problem with it. She doesn't post enough bikini pictures, but he's going to take care of that separately. Cage is pissed off, and they want to talk. Cage is pissed off that there's so much talk about Sting and Darby Allin's win at All In. So many pages and Cages on the show. It's not as embarrassing as the Bengals losing to the Browns, but it's still pretty embarrassing as Christian Cage didn't have his regular partner in that match. Cage challenging Allin and Sting to a match next week with Luchasaurus and himself. I love this version of Christian Cage, not only for like the parental jab, whatever, but doing things like everybody's still talking about this match at All In. Nobody really is, right? But like he just injects this thing of like everyone's still talking about it, and it's pissing me off. And you kind of just are like, yeah, everybody is, and it's pissing him off. Like he just is so good at cranking up the gas on stuff like that. And then of course you get the TP about the Bengals, which I thought was super fun. Just really, really, really valuable. A super successful TNT title run so far for Christian Cage. This is fun. He continues to not say Luchasaurus' name in any of this, which is just like these fantastic little heel details. Thought we might have been teasing an Edge appearance, honestly, when he said my regular partner. I thought we were going to go so far into dismissing Luchasaurus that we were going to talk about Adam Copeland maybe showing up. But let's start with you, Joe. What did you think of the match that we got? I thought the Darby Allin coffin drop on Parker was really fun in this post-match that we got here.
Yeah, it was fun. I guess, it is what it was as far as, a Darby Allin Nick Wayne tag team match. They kind of didn't touch on the AR Fox situation that's kind of pairing Darby between loyalties. So I don't know if that's kind of on the back burner right now, if that'll come back up later. Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic probably need to find some direction. Otherwise, it would kind of be, tag team that's going to eat pins a lot. But, yeah, and then I'm always here for Christian and his promos and, his issue with Nick Wynn's mom's Instagram is probably the same issue that a lot of people have with Ryan's Instagram for lack of bikini pictures.
You're 100% right about that. And I think, when I think of 2.0, sometimes what I actually go back to in my head, because we don't see them on TV that much, is they were so hysterical on the cruise when we saw them. Like they're so versatile in that they can cut a really serious promo at any moment, but like overall, they're just so funny. And when I think of the cruise, obviously it begs the question, like Ryan's bikini pictures, where are they going to be? The end of January this year, like there's a lot that kind of coalesces within this segment.
Fans.
It's true. Be smart enough to charge for it.
There's
a market. Okay, there is a market. But what did you think of this match and the post match?
No, there's really not. I mean, I wish there was, but there's just not.
I feel like the people that are, it might be niche, but I feel like they're probably big spenders.
If they were, reach out. I will gladly send you what you want. What you want.
Tits out.
I'll give you my
tits out. Let go.
I'll give you my Venmo. We're good with it.
Watch for the shoe is all I ask, Ryan.
Well,
but what were your thoughts on this match in the post?
Match was fine. I think it's just Wayne's World. Match was secondary is what it was. Like everyone knew that's sometimes the problem when you have like a Christian out on the mic. That the match is secondary. The post match was great, like you said, Christian, being like I was scrolling through her Instagram, didn't see enough bikini pics because he's not insulting the mom, which is tired.
Oh.
Like he's complimenting her in a way. Yeah.
Sweet.
But then my whole thing is like I get people saying, well, he still has regular partner, it's gonna be Edge. But there's no way Edge comes in heel. Right? Like you couldn't pull that off, could you?
I don't know if you need to for that moment. Like it could be a match with Christian Cage and Luchasaurus and Edge comes out and challenges for the title and just wins. Or I mean, Christian is a pretty well-loved heel right now. Like you could probably get away with a bit of a tweener situation with the two of them.
Yeah, I mean he's the best heel. It's just unbelievable. Or do you jump either Darby or Nick Wayne? Oh, it's Sting and Darby. Do you jump Darby or Sting before Grand Slam, and then they got to find a partner?
I was thinking that too. Like maybe somebody gets taken out in the process. It is tricky because people would go nuts for Edge, but he's so much better I feel like Edge is better as a heel. But I don't want to see them go back to like the totally awesome whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? I want this to feel fresh and different because Christian is just killing it right now. But I'm intrigued to see what happens there. I mean, Edge at Grand Slam would be a huge deal. I think with the women's match getting set up the way it is, it's possible that Mercedes is there too, which is kind of cool because Saraya came last year. So you could like make that like the big women's reveal event. But a lot of possibilities there. And a couple possibilities in our main event. This is one that I thought was going to go in favor of Samoa Joe, which it ultimately did, but also pretty easily felt like if you wanted this to go Roddy's way, you'd have a very sound justification for that. Let's be honest, he has neck issues right now. Okay. And I know Ryan Carlson.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. There claims that he doesn't, but he clearly does. And I think if his neck was at 100%, he probably wins here. But before that, we get a couple of really fun segments with Renee backstage with Roddy Strong and the Kingdom when Adam Cole approaches and says that this is a terrible idea to be wrestling Samoa Joe. Strong has the Kingdom that believe in him. And while Cole can keep on believing in Max, Strong says he'll defeat Samoa Joe tonight and he calls himself a wrestling legend. I do find it very curious that Adam Cole suddenly cares now about Roddy's neck.
Why was Taven massaging the brace?
Because the the brace had some knots in it, and
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. Answer the question.
Oh boy. So that was one.
I may have lost the plot.
I think you lost the plot a little bit, but we also get MJF calling Roderick Strong incredibly manipulative person and a wet blanket later and a third wheel and told Strong to shake it off. Samoa Joe might not realize it, but this pitbull has a whole lot of bite in him. MJF promises that Joe wins the tournament. He will choke Joe out. And then he goes into territory that I didn't expect him to go into. And I swear to God, the people of this company just try to make Renee laugh between throwing shoes and squatting her and doing Steiner math promos. Absolutely howling. Love Tess saying that the math was right out of the University of Michigan as well. Very, very, very fun to call back to the Steiner math promo because I think everybody remembers how insane Scott Steiner was, but a lot of people kind of forget that, Samoa Joe was the subject of it too. Like that kind of gets tucked away a little bit in all of this. So this is so much fun. I'm loving this MJF run that we're getting in the midst of his title reign. And let's start with the promos and then we can talk about the match a little bit. But Ryan, we'll start with you on this.
The promo was amazing. I mean, they really were good promos, and MJF is he really is on fire. Like, he seems to have found a groove, and it's like, again, still kind of a dick, but he's the good guy now. And the Roddy promo was outstanding, especially when Haven was massaging the neck brace and not the actual neck. I mean, whatever. That was amazing. The whole thing is great. The glasses they put on Roddy, like every part of Roddy right now is just like, Jesus, so much personality coming out of this guy who, if you had watched him towards the end of his run elsewhere, you didn't think he had any. Through no fault of his, just the way they were handling him. So this is great. And then, yeah, if you want my opinion on the match, it was what it was.
Let's talk about the match in a little bit, but Joe, let's get your thoughts on just the promos first, and then we'll discuss the match.
I like the fact that when they tell MJF, like, his neck is still hurt enough where he has to sit out a week, and like they're all distraught, and Adam Cole's like, "It's okay, man. You'll be fine." He's like, "No, what are you talking about? I get a week off again. This is great." And then the fact that he can remember all the Steiner math stuff, like that's good. Some good acting right there to remember that many lines. And yeah, that's maybe the most impressive thing about his promo was remembering all that.
I think he seems like the kind of guy that probably practiced so many promos over and over and over again as a kid. Like, I'm sure he's had that one in his back pocket for a while. But let's get into the match. This was awesome. I loved this main event. It felt like a main event. Felt like it could go either way. These two obviously very familiar with each other. Anytime that Samoa Joe was like setting up for the muscle buster, you were just like, oh no, not Roddy's neck. So much fun. And then of course with the post-match too, we get Roddy Strong just wailing Adam. Such a blast. Like this scorned lover Roderick Strong thing. Doing what Malachi Black did with his misted eye, but doing it with a neck brace from an injury he had in NXT that didn't even make sense then is just hysterical to me. There's a lot of interesting possibilities that I'm going to throw out at you guys, and some of them have to do with the tag team picture. Now, feels like the ROH belts are probably going to go from MJF and Adam Cole to the Kingdom. That's what it feels like this is setting up for. In NXT, we have the contracts of the Grizzled Young Vets expiring, and they feel like they are ready-made, patented ROH contenders, if not next up tag champs. I feel like the Kingdom deserve a real run with them, but I would be shocked if they didn't walk into the ROH picture just from a stylistic and brand standpoint. They feel like they make so much sense. Now, they could also come over and beat FTR, and I would believe you, or at least feel like important players in that tag division. But a very interesting wrinkle. I forgot how quickly those contracts were coming up, but it's a couple weeks from now. It's in October. So very interesting possibilities with this tag picture. I do feel like they end up on the Kingdom, and that's where we get the dissension between Max and Cole finally. But just love this with Roddy. And then, of course, at the end, we got Adam Cole, who's all concerned about Roddy. Too little, too late, pal. And Samoa Joe just choking him out at the end. Adam Cole doing a great job selling that. He just looked dead to the world. Felt like the TV shot went on a really long time, like that they had a couple extra minutes on the show. But Adam Cole just like lifeless on the ramp, and Samoa Joe just, whenever he choked someone out with just like a smile on his face, and he was doing that to Adam Cole just for fun because he was really sending a message to MJF. It's like peak Samoa Joe. It's the most perfect, genuine presentation of Samoa Joe, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I thought the match was a whole bunch of fun, and the post-match was great. The mix of like how serious Samoa Joe is with how ridiculous Roddy Strong is a really fun, like, peripheral nuances of this whole thing. Ryan, what did you think?
Yeah, I tried to do a teaser as if I wasn't going to like it, and that's why I said it was what it was. But apparently that didn't work.
No, it's just too good.
I mean, the match was awesome. These two are two of the best at what they do. They are quite good, and they've obviously wrestled before, which helps because you know how to tell the story. And then both of these guys have stories going on that are interconnected, but they're not. And that helps a match like this because legitimately either guy could have won, and I would have been like, okay. This was just amazing. And then to have Roddy go out with maybe an actual neck injury because he was faking his previous one, like, oh, amazing. And then to choke out Adam Cole at the end because Samoa Joe said he was going to take everything from Max, and he's taking Adam Cole out. Oh, God. Storytelling. Meanwhile, I didn't see the Kingdom protect Roddy. Just saying. He went down on their watch. Just saying.
Well, they were there next to the stretcher the whole time. My
But
goodness.
they let him get put on a stretcher. Why didn't they stop it?
Well, look, if a man is going to be reckless enough to take off his neck brace in a match, there's only so much you can do. Like, you can only intervene with your friends so much. But Joe, what did you think of our main event and the post-match here?
It delivered what I was expecting as far as, like, you know, you had an argument for either one to win the match because of the story being so intertwined. And watching the match, I always, like, every time I watch Joe wrestle, I'm just always reminded about how sudden he moves for being 317 pounds, like how he can fly in the ring still at his age and his size. Every match I see of his, I'm just kind of reminded of that. And I'm kind of surprised there wasn't more like outside shenanigans from the Kingdom.
They didn't care about Roddy or his neck.
No,
are you saying that he had a legitimate neck injury now? Are you claiming that?
Now he might, because Joe went at him. The one he had before was fake, and they weren't there to protect him. I'm just saying, I don't think they're good guys.
You sound like a very concerned citizen.
I'm just telling facts.
You do sound like a very, very concerned
It's not my fault that the lamestream wrestling media over at Fightful won't tell you the truth.
Hey,
I will.
Hold on. Let Joe speak. He has the floor.
I am interested to see with MJF having Samoa Joe at Grand Slam, like what does Adam Cole do? Like, where do you insert him into a match with the Kingdom, or do you build to a Cole versus Roddy match eventually here coming up? He has to do something on one of these shows, right?
I think so, and I'm intrigued to see what that looks like. I also don't know, like, man, is there Adam Cole stuff that I don't know about from when he was in the Bullet Club that makes sense with what's going on in New Japan, that there's a Wrestle Dream angle that I'm not thinking of, or like any of that stuff? Like, it's such an interesting time for programming, but this is the biggest and most valuable story that you have between Max and Adam Cole. It's just a matter of who turns on who and when. Because we got another big pay-per-view around the corner, right? We've got Full Gear ahead of us still. But that concludes our episode of Dynamite. We're going to flip over into news and notes. Most of it is just contract news. Some good, some bad. We alluded to it at the beginning of the show, or earlier in the show, I guess, that Adam Copeland is done with WWE, we think. Nobody knows for sure, but it was reported today that he is no longer on internal rosters in WWE and his contract is up. This is something we knew was a possibility. Nothing confirmed yet, but I think some overall belief that he's probably coming to AEW. Christian's there, the Hardys are there. Edge looked really good in his FTR. Like there's so much. There's so many possibilities, and with Punk out of the picture now, not a bad idea to have a ringer like him come in. Doesn't matter if he already signed those papers before he could have leveraged his asking price, I guess. But now he can, that's for sure. What are your guys' thoughts on Adam Copeland coming in? And I guess, who do you guys want to see Adam Copeland against other than the obvious ones? I'll throw it to Ryan first.
Now, obviously, he has to do something with Christian. It would be really cool to see them tag team, but be the same dickhead heels that Christian's being now, and let Edge play that role because he doesn't get to play that a lot. But I kind of would be excited for Edge to go against some of the young talent in AEW. You know, a Darby Allin, guys like that. Like that's where the Christian thing comes in. Like I think he'd have a lot of fun with that. The problem with his run in WWE was at first it was all old rehash, which some rehash is fun, but you got to work in other stuff as well. And then his stuff with the young people was all during the worst era of Judgment Day you could have. He was not made for Judgment Day. Like that just wasn't who he was as a character.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to lean on the Brood and it just like didn't click in because I don't think Judgment Day was supposed to be goth high schoolers initially, right? I think it was supposed to be taken seriously and then they turned it into a parody of itself. So I'm with you there. And it was just also weird that he came back to win Royal Rumble and they never gave him a title run. Like that was just such an odd choice to me. But
yeah. So I would have him, like I said, they have a bunch of the young guys. I mean, we could you go through the roster, like even someone though I hate to say it, like Orange Cassidy. Like that would be fun. I don't know why, but I think it would be a lot of fun. Like this crazy Edge against Orange Cassidy. Just because Edge's whole thing is how intense he gets. And Orange Cassidy just isn't intense. So there's a lot of potential. His wrestling wasn't really the problem when he was in WWE. It was more they just didn't book him properly.
No, and his health. I feel like that guy's biggest pops were because he was always coming back from injury. So good to see him healthy and working fine. This last run in WWE was anticlimactic, but I don't think anything to do with his fault. Joe, your thoughts on an Adam Copeland Edge run here?
Well, I think last week I mentioned it'd be fun to maybe see him work with the Dark Order, as kind of their de facto leader to kind of help give them guide them and speak from the experienced veteran point of view. Other than that, Ricky Starks comes to mind. Both do a hell of a spear.
Yeah, that's a really good call. That's really fun.
Kind of similar builds, kind of similar style a little bit. They kind of both, obviously you're good in the mic, kind of play the same kind of like snarky heel. So I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to run down a couple more pieces of contract news because they're all contracts. I'm just going to rattle them off at once and you guys can lay your thoughts out on all three of them. But we've got Prince Nana resigning, which is very exciting. I think we were all doing the dance when we heard that. I think he's the hottest manager in wrestling right now. It makes me very happy. It's not something I thought I would be saying, but that is very cool. We also had the unfortunate news that Sonny Kiss is no longer with AEW. I think Sonny's got a huge future not very far away. I think there's a lot that Sonny could do in the Impact zone, particularly. I feel like because they have such a stronghold on intergender wrestling, especially, they can kind of like you can have Sonny versus Steve Maclin and you can have Sonny versus Trinity, and it'll just be fucking awesome. And then kind of the other piece of news, Bryan Danielson saying that after this year, he's going to move away from a full-time wrestling schedule. A lot of people kind of interpreting that as in retirement. Just sounds like he's not going to be wrestling all the time everywhere. And that's kind of what I feel like this maybe last tour is. Also saying that he'd like to wrestle outside of AEW. He wants to show up at Defy in Seattle, which is just a wild thing to hear him shout out. He's talked passionately in the past about wanting to like bring territories back and mentioned wanting to do a G1, but not thinking his body would hold up. I think whatever Bryan Danielson wants to do, he should be given the world. This guy is just the absolute best. The way he steps up for the locker room and the bullshit that they've had, the matches he puts on, the situations he steps back into are fantastic. And I also feel like he's been injured so much of the year that it's kind of like he's a special attraction already. Good for him, though. I mean, arguably the best to ever do it in several capacities. What a storied career he's building. But I, of course, am excited that we're getting to see him against Okada and ZSJ and eventually Will Ospreay, I think, at some point. But that's kind of the biggest news. And then, of course, WWE merging. I know this isn't AEW news, but it's a big enough one that we have the TKO merger between basically everybody else that's doing combat sports. Now under one umbrella, we are done with the Vince McMahon era of WWE, which is a weird thing to say. So Ryan, I'll throw it to you, but recapping, Prince Nana staying, Sonny is going, Bryan Danielson somewhere in between.
Nana staying is awesome. He's just been a revelation. I didn't know anything about him because I was not a big ROH guy, and he's just amazing and so talented. Sonny leaving is awful. They never used Sonny properly, but I'm with you. I think Sonny could thrive in Impact or maybe now NWA. You know, they brought Zicky Dice back, who I like, so maybe they're trying to, get some
the post Tyrus era. Yeah.
And then Bryan Danielson. I would like to see him, like, I know he's gonna stop eventually, but I would like to see him on like AEW or something. AEW more than WWE, do more like a part-timer schedule. Come in for a feud, walk away. Come in for a feud, walk away. I think he'd be very good at that.
I think so too, and I feel like his mind is so damn valuable that, like, he just knows how to make things work, and he can offer a lot of value outside of the ring as well, obviously. But Joe, I'll throw it over to you. Same deal. Prince Nana, Sonny Kiss, and Bryan Danielson.
Good for Nana. Good for Sonny. So now that they can, thrive in NWA or Impact or wherever else, and who knows, they might find their way back into AEW eventually. So, and Bryan, I mean, if the guy has earned the right to be a special attraction, if we can make Bill Goldberg a special attraction, then Bryan Danielson sure as hell deserves to be one. So yeah, bring him in, have a couple week build to a match every so often. That's all you need.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if Bryan Danielson can do what Goldberg does in the ring, but he's fine.
It's true. I haven't seen him do a jackhammer. I haven't seen him do that or a spear.
Thank God. Thank God.
And then the TKO, Endeavor, all that stuff news. The only thing it'll be interesting to see is like if you hear rumblings of like moving SmackDown to a different to Disney or to some other company, and if that affects what day that show's on, and if maybe they move some TLEs to different days to like a Sunday again. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those days compete with AEW programming.
Agreed. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things that I think, unfortunately, in the beginning of this TKO merger, you're probably going to see a lot of layoffs of the administrative side, right? That's a pretty typical first thing with the merger. And then I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I think Fox already basically said they're not really interested in renewing them. So it'll be interesting. USA loves having them. So we'll see if they want to shell out. But that just about brings us to the end of the show. I'm going to let you guys plug your shit. Ryan, you can go first.
You can find me on our socials, everything at Mark Order Pod. I run our Twitter, so just don't be a, what's that, Kate?
Dickhead.
Just don't be a dickhead, and I will interact with you. And then you can follow my blog, hereforhistory.com or @_hereforhistory. It's a history thing I'm doing. But other than that, just interact with me on our socials.
That's right. If you're an absolute nerd beyond wrestling, you can also be a history nerd. But go follow Ryan.
We're all nerds.
We really, really are. Go follow Ryan. It's also not like inaccessible history writing, I would say. It's very easy to read and digest, and Brian's a good writer. So go check out his stuff. And if you want anything of more cultural significance and value than boring ass history, how about cereal in Joe's world? Tell us about cereals, Joe, and you can plug your shit as well.
Yeah, you can find me on the socials at _Asian Joe. And usually in my socials, in my bio, I have a link to my cereal review blog, the Cereal Aisle blog. So click on that link, check out some reviews about some wacky cereals. It'll be a nice little palate cleanser after you read about history that is rewritten by Ryan.
Yeah, after Ryan is done.
Whitewashing? Is that what we called it?
Yeah, I think so. But it's just nice to have the perspective of a straight white male writing
we don't get enough
history. We don't really get society.
Put out the outro
lens.
overlay now, or
no, because I got my shit to plug. You can follow me at Miss Kate Fame on Twitter and TikTok, as well as Katestagrams on Instagram. You can catch me on Fightful Select on Mondays for the Raw review, as well as
our
any
lamestream wrestling media.
No conspiracy theories here at Fightful, just actual news. You can catch me on the Fightful main Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays doing your NXT, ROH, and SmackDown reviews, and Wednesdays are right here at the Mark Order podcast. One LT photo just popping me in the chat saying, Kate, I got my shirt. I support women. Well, thank you so much for supporting women. I feel secure in my rights, and I feel so happy that you picked up a shirt. Thank you for doing so. And as we're closing out the show, we will also once again remind you that those t-shirts are available at prowrestlingtees.com for designs to choose from. All of the profits go back into the show, paying for StreamYard, paying for Ant's soundboard. Not really, but that was all him. But we do get fun sound effects from that, so we appreciate it. But goes right back into the show, probably producing more t-shirts at some point. So thank you for supporting my right to vote and supporting the Mark Order podcast. That's a wrap for us tonight. We will see you next week. We're out of here.
I gotta do the thing now. I forgot it's my job.
Ryan has to do the thing. Production Ryan.
I forgot it was my job. Hold on.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.